Ancient Bongo Watu, Tafari. Wisemind Publications, Unshackle Your Mind. Ancient Bongo Watu, written by Tafari, layout by Tafari, edited by Joseph Powell, introduction by Jakes Homiak, cover design by Ja Reveal Designs, published by Wisemind Publication, Lot 97 Catherine Hall, Montego Bay No. 2, Jamaica, West Indies. Wisemind Publication 2021. All rights reserved. No part of this publication may be reproduced or stored without prior permission of the publisher. Table of Contents. Page 7, Introduction. Page 18, Prayer of Bongo Watu. Page 20, Yadop. Page 23, Trials and Tribulations. Page 27, Interpretation of the Bible Bongo. Page 28, Prince Emmanuel. Page 29, Can a person be Rastafari without dreadlocks? Page 31, The Divinity of His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie I. Page 34, Coronation of Emperor Haile Selassie I. Page 38, Vows of the Nyabingi. Page 44, International Travels. Page 46, Irids of Bongo Watu. Page 48, Ancient Bongo Watu Prayer as the sealing word sound to the 1980 Golden Jubilee Nyabingi at Angel Heights, St. Catherine. Page 54, Psalm 87. Acknowledgements. The life work of Rastafari, patriarchs or matriarchs, is a treasure vault for incoming generations. This work is an important milestone for those seeking knowledge of Rastafari Heights of Liberty. Special thanks to Joseph Powell for guidance and to Jakes Homiak for the important archive material. Thanks also to Ras Moea Masimba, filmmaker, Ratsmas Burgist for support, Ja Reveal Designs, and Ras Julio for artwork. Full gratitude to the individuals whose pictures I have used in this book. Flacco Tafari. Introduction. The tradition of Bongo Watu, Nyabingi Patriarch. In the history of the Rastafari movement, there has never been any single individual recognized to speak on behalf of all Rastafari. Among the handful of first evangelists who spread the raspel of the movement, Leonard P. Howell has been the most recognized for his works from the early 1930s through the early 1950s. The movement at large, however, is one that has developed from stage to stage without being exclusively indebted to the inspiration of any one figure, save for that of His Imperial Majesty, Emperor Haile Selassie. In the case, however, that we can point to a select few individuals whose ritual careers, by virtue of their age, positioning, inspiration, spiritual and cultural works, and longevity, were profoundly important and transformational figures in the development of the movement. Such individuals have bridged the life of the movement from its early years as a so-called cult of outcasts to its present-day existence as an international movement of Pan-African liberation. Bongo Watu, aka Ras Bonagees, is one such exemplary individual. In the language of the sociology of religion, he is someone who would be called an exemplary prophet. That is, someone who, by virtue of their life works and commitment to a faith exemplifies its principles almost in excess in order to establish a model for others to emulate. His life and works can be summarized in several general points. As a young Ras, during the 1940s and 1950s, he set an example as an imple, resolute and uncompromising in his faith and filled with intense zeal of Rastafari. He sought out a number of the first evangelists of Rastafari to know and assess their wise mind, and through this he went on to play a major role in developing the spiritual canon and practices of the Nyabingi order from the early 1950s onward. In his latter life, starting in the early 1970s, he would inspire a cohort of local and international seekers to embrace the faith, and in the decades that followed, was clearly the most widely traveled and influential of Nyabingi patriarchs until the time of his transition in October of 2000. Treading on the wine press in Yard. Bongo Watu, also known as Henry F. Watson, was born July the 1st, 1925, in the parish of St. Mary, to parents who were Garveyites. At least one of his parents was of Maroon descent. During the period of the Italian occupation of Ethiopia, 1935 to 1941, he cited Rastafari in his early teens. In those years, as he once put it, he saw himself continuing the work of the Holy Prophet Marcus Mosiah Garvey, who had come to put the people in remembrance of their African legacy as a source of pride and upliftment for the race. In 1945, by the time he was 20, he began to visit Leonard Howell Rastafari Commune at Pinnacle in St. Catherine. Then legendary for the quality of its herbs, there are several days at a time. He participated in the spiritual services of Howell's Ethiopian Salvation Society, rituals conducted by chanting to the rhythms of kumina drums and smoking herbs. This was a practice that he continued episodically over the course of several years. He recalls a number of face-to-face reasonings with the Gong, Howell himself, and after his visit in 1947, after his last visit in 1947, Bongo Watu maintains that he returned to Kingston where he founded Nyabingi Order. While Bongo Watu was a major figure in the formation of the divine order of the Nyabingi, his unvarnished claim as founder of the order warrants some nuance and interpretation. Contemporaries of the elder have argued that no one man founded the Nyabingi order. Rather, its creation was the collective inspiration of many individuals over a period of years. Bongo Watu's claim rests in the fact that during the late 1940s, he acquired a copy of Sylvia Pankhurst's book, The Black International, which identified the King's Order as the Nyabingi. In 1946, he subsequently commissioned Buru drums from the drum maker named Daniel while living in Boys Town, Kingston. At the time, this was not a practice unique to him, as other Rastafari, including Pa Ashanti, did the same. Bongo Watu christened his drum as the 7 Millenix drums. This would become one of the early sets of Nyabingi drums used in Rastafari congregations in West Kingston to hold services, both in yards and during street meetings. As noted, other Rastafari, including Pa Ashanti and Bongo Lloyd Moore in Bakawal and Count Ozzy in Renox Lodge, East Kingston, were also part of this Buru Nyabingi transition and made similar contributions. Suffice it to note that from 1947 to 1953, Bongo Watu maintained a yard on Greenwich Park Road, which became a grounding site for Nyabingi protocols. In 1953, he moved to Ninth Street in Trench, where he built a tabernacle in his yard, where the levity continued to be refined. Bongo Watu's Ninth Street yard would become the grounding site for a cohort of zealous brethren who identified themselves as the Youth Black Faith. The cohort included Brother Arthur, Brother Philip Panhandle, Rascarface, and most notably as a drummer, Bongo Claudy, aka Pa Ashanti. This group of brethren ultimately embraced the Dreadlocks Covenant that would become emblematic of the Nyabingi order, along with a number of notable others, including Ras Dermanite and Bongo Bud. The group would become known as Bonerges, or Sons of Thunder, after the biblical passage in Mark 3:17. The name Bonerges, however, would come to rest almost exclusively on Bongo Watu as signifier of his voicerous and stentorian style of charismatic preaching. The group would be among those militant younger Rastafari who sought to create a revival within the wider movement, distinguishing their practices from those of the first evangelists like Howell, Hibbert, and Hines, whose congregations were seen as compromised by various Christian or other negative incrustations. It is more than fair to say that Bongo Watu's Ninth Street encampment benefited from the fact that he was a good earner. Employed periodically as a steel worker during the construction of the University of the West Indies. Over the years, many brethren lived for periods of time in his Ninth Street yard during the 1950s and 1960s. Jastone, Pa, and Ma Ashanti, and Bongo Shefan are among those known to have lived with Bongo Watu for periods of time on Ninth Street. It was during the 1950s that Bongo Watu and his cohorts established the outlines of the Nyabingi canon. While some of these principles have been significantly amended over the years, the early Nyabingi creed included multiple convictions that continue to apply, in whole or in part today. These include recognition of the Bible and prophecy as I foundation, showing Emperor Haile Selassie is I creator and redeemer. Overstanding the drum is a weapon for I. We will chant Nyabingi until Babylon walls fall down. Embracing herbs, ganja is I sacrament given by the Almighty Creator. A determination to fight against three unclean spirits: the dragon, politics; the beast, commerce; and the false prophet, religion. A conviction that I culture is not for sale. Acknowledging that there is no resting place in Babylon. I are not here to be comfortable. Struggle and strife is part of our portion while in Babylon. Acknowledging that the pure ital man does not eat from a woman. These principles were coalescing during the 1950s, a decade during which Bongo Watu was very active, but during which he suffered ongoing persecution for his defense of the sacrament. This included 2 prison sentences, during one of which he was poisoned. His faith was resolute and he persevered. In 1953, he organized a major street march in support of the Mau Mau uprising in Kenya. During that same year, he states that Prince Emmanuel I came to visit him in Trenchtown. Together, they later organized a series of 4 conventions in Akiwak, i.e., part of Bakawal, in 1954 through 1957. The 1955 gathering was held to celebrate the silver 25th anniversary of His Majesty and Her Majesty's coronation. All of these served as a prelude to the well-known All-Ireland Convention held there in March of 1958. Bongo Watu recalls playing a major role in that event. One of the highlights of his life came in 1966 at the reception given at the Sheraton Hotel by Emperor Haile Selassie during his state visit to Jamaica. He noted that the emperor sent an emissary, a police inspector named Gordon Langdon, to ask him why he wore his head in dreadlocks. Although he knew His Majesty knew the answer to the question he had asked, he nevertheless quoted from number 6 to the emperor's representative. When informed of the answer that Bongo Watu had given, His Majesty stated before the Jamaican elites gathered there, "Leave them, the Rastafari, alone, for they know what they are doing." Bongo Watu asserts that there was a clear logic in the fact that the emperor instructed the police inspector to solicit his response, as that individual was well known to be hostile to the Rastafari, as were police in general. Hence, it represented a teachable moment. For his part, Bongo Watu took the emperor's words as a mandate to spread the message and precepts of the Nyabingi order around the world. Yachting abroad. In 1973, after waves of political violence and turmoil had upset life across West Kingston, Bongo Watu left Trenchtown and relocated to Goldsmith Villa, not far from the university. This put him in touch with a number of students from other parts of the Caribbean who were influenced by the spread of Black Power ideology that had accompanied Walter Rodney's tenure there in the late 1960s. Among such individuals were Ras Frank I, Mwali Mu of Antigua, and Ikel Tafari of Barbados. During 1973, Ikel lived with Bongo Watu, while he was also engaged with Michael Manley's youth deployment initiatives. These pan-Caribbean connections would serve as conduits that initiated Bongo Watu's international trotting and positioned him as the most influential patriarchs in the spread of Nyabingi livity and practice. In April of 1975, he accompanied Ikel Tafari to Barbados on the first known international Nyabingi trot, thus planting the seeds for the order in the Eastern Caribbean. 8 years later, following the Second Rastafari International Theocracy Assembly in 1983, held on the Mona campus, Bongo Watu led a Nyabingi delegation to the Eastern Caribbean, which included stops in Antigua, St. Vincent, Union Island, and Barbados. The mission was prevented from landing in Grenada due to the upheavals of the overthrow of the bishop government. He was accompanied on that mission by Bongo Time, Pa Ashanti, Ras Ibo Ashanti I. That mission had a major impact on the fledgling communities in the Eastern Caribbean, including Grenada, which would ultimately lead to the founding of the Caribbean Rastafari Organization. The following year, in 1984, Bongo Watu traveled to Toronto, Canada, with Ras Ienton and Ras Iville Wright as the central figure of the Voice of Thunder Trod. That month-long program, organized by Sister Carol Yorney and Sister Mosani Montague at New York University, had as its objective to educate the Canadian public about the nature of Rastafari philosophy and practice. It came in the midst of Canadian concerns over Jamaican immigration in general and the Rastafari in particular, making increased levels of misunderstanding and conflict during the 1980s between the Canadian, US, and British states and members of the Rastafari movement. 2 years hence, in 1986, Bongo Watu trod to London to participate in Rastafari Focus at the Commonwealth Institute. He followed up that mission with a trod to St. Lucia during the same year. During that trod, which included Ras Ivai Tafari, he clarified various Nyabingi protocols and consecrated the tabernacle at Vieux Forte St. Lucia in 1988. Bongo Watu was one of some 20 Rastafari who were scheduled to trod to New York and Washington, D.C. as part of the Rainbow Circle Throne Room mission, sponsored by the Smithsonian and organized in part by this writer. However, he withdrew at the last moment over disagreements with other elders on the trod. The 1990s would continue to be an active decade for the patriarch. In 1992, following the centenary trod to Ethiopia, Bongo Watu made trod to the Eastern Caribbean, again to St. Lucia. In 1994, he trod to the ICOM Ras gathering in Miami on the Seminole Reservation, after which he traveled to Washington, D.C. and New York. In May of 1994, he traveled with Bongo Spear of Barbados to Lelydorp, Suriname, to participate in a conference organized by the Caribbean Council of Churches, focused on the indigenous African aspects of spiritual practice found within the Caribbean practice of Christianity. In 1996, he again traveled with Bongo Spear, this time to Geneva, Switzerland, to defend the cause of repatriation and to secure observer status for the Rastafari movement within the United Nations Social and Economic Council. That mission did in fact secure observer status for the Rastafari movement within the United Nations Social and Economic Council. That mission did in fact secure observer status in the UN for the movement. In 1997, Bongo Watu would travel to Guyana with a larger contingent that included Bingi Ari Irons, Bongo Joe Bernard, Sister Mitzi, Dr. Dean, Ras Ivai, Ras Ibo Ashanti, and Ira Tafari from Barbados. The first Nyabingi patriarch to trot to South Africa. In July of 1996, Bongo Watu made his first trot to the African continent, traveling from London to Shashamane for the opening of the Nyabingi Tabernacle. This event marked the completion of the Centenary Tabernacle project, launched in 1992 on the Emperor's 100th Earthstrong. He then returned to London for 2 months, and in October of 1996 trot to South Africa, becoming the first Nyabingi patriarch to make such a trot. He traveled to Cape Town with a delegation of brethren and sistren from London and Birmingham, where they were met by Ibo Ashanti and brethren and sistren from Johannesburg and Palm Springs. In Cape Town, Bongo Watu would spend a good deal of time with members of the Marcus Garvey camp in the township of Philippi on the Cape Flats. His presence there generated enormous interest, not only in South Africa proper, but in Zimbabwe, Botswana, and Namibia. In Cape Town, he was hosted on Bush Radio, which helped to spread the news of his trot. Sister Carol Yanni, my late research partner, followed the impact of Bongo Watu's sojourn in South Africa. When she traveled there during the late 1990s and early 2000s, she noted that wherever you go in the Rastafari communities of South Africa, Ras Bonagis is known as the first Nyabingi patriarch to make the mission there. They've even heard about him in the Nyabingi community in Swakopmund, Namibia. Even though Namibia has been kind of left out of the loop of Rastafari networking in Southern Africa. In circulating a memorial tribute to Ras Bonagis following his transition in October 2000, Sister Carol noted that Ras Bonagis was known across Southern Africa through word about his character and works, as well as through his image. In South Africa, in the South African community of Kinistana, a place where the Rastafari settlement is inspirationally located on a hilltop, she noted that near the entrance of the community, on the outside wall of the shop, was a striking painting of Ras Bonagis that could be seen from a distance, like a landmark. Ras Bonagis had never made it to Kinisna. But shortly after his transition, the community there was gathered to celebrate his life in their tabernacle. Sister Carol went on to say that Nyabingi houses across South Africa are marking this occasion Friday night, as they are in Zimbabwe and Botswana, at Marcus Garvey Camp in Cape Town, where Ras Bonagis spent much time. The Nyabingi started with the news of Ras Bonagis' transition. The life of Bongo Watu, aka Ras Bonagis, is a testament to the fact that Rastafari is an African energy that manifests in the fullness of time. As Sister Carol has written, his works were to awaken and rise up a Nyabingi energy. With his steady chants and beat on the bass drum of do good, do good, do good, he wielded the sword of Nyabingi fire to strike fear in the hearts of those who would pervert the teachings of Rastafari. Rastafari is not for sale. For such cause, the tradition of the venerable patriarch Bongo Watu will be remembered as having had an unequaled impact upon the internationalization of the divine order of the Nyabingi and its foundational precepts. June 23rd, 2021, compliments of IRAP, the International Rastafari Archives Project, co-founders Carol D. Yanni and Jakes Homiak.
Homiak J at si.edu. HOMIAK J at si.edu.
Prayer of Bongo Watu. Give thanks and praises unto the living I, Emperor Haile Selassie I. There are set thrones of judgment, the thrones of the house of David. Pray for the love of Jerusalem, and for them that prosper, that love thee. Love within thy walls and prosperity within thy palaces. Because of the house of the living I, Emperor Haile Selassie I, King Rastafari, I will continue to seek I, love forever and ever. Throughout the four wings of the heavens to the foundations of the earth, through I great, mighty, and praiseworthy Haile I, Selassie I, King Rastafari. I and I was glad when the I say unto I and I, come, let us go into the house of the living I. I and thy feet must stand within thy gates, O Jerusalem. Jerusalem is built as a city which is compact together. Behold, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to come together in unity. It's like the precious ointment upon the head that ran upon Ionite beard to the skirts of Ionite garments, as the dew of Hermon that descended upon the mount of Zion. For there the Most High, eternal, immortal, Haile Selassie I had commanded the blessing to give life forever and ever. Let the words of I mouth and the meditations of I heart be freely accepted in thy sight, O thou Most High, Emperor Haile I strength and I Redeemer, who live and reign forever and ever. The eye is the lamp unto thy feet, and the light unto thy path. The path of the Almighty is mercy and truth, to such that keep his covenant and his testimony. Pardon our iniquity and block out our transgression, so that I can behold thy face in glory, now henceforth and forever. Haile Selassie, King Rastafari. I, Supreme Majesty, Haile Selassie, King Rastafari, eternally only King of Zion, conquering Lion of the tribe of Judah, Haile Selassie, King Rastafari, live and reign forever and ever. Bless I, sanctify I, and cause thy holy countenance to shine upon I, that I must be free from all I enemies, both now and forever. Selah.
Wisemindpublications.com